Hello. Okay, so this is our code from chapter 11. We're going to be working with date times, and this is our starting code for the Invoice.py program. So the first step that we want to do is we want to take a look at how this program works before we make our changes to it. And what we're doing. So the best way to do this is to kind of start at the very beginning, read through the code, and then run the program and test it out. There is not any validation in this, so we will likely come to an error if we don't enter our information correctly. But let's take a look. So first we're importing date time. We're importing date time and time delta. Time delta allows you to add things, and I'm using VS Code right here. So it's really nice. You can hover over things. I kind of tell you a little bit more about um, the keywords and the libraries that we're importing, help you understand your code better. So we've got two functions here. The first one is get invoice date, and that's where we're asking for the input in month, day, and year format. That's just a 2-digit year at the starting. We're going to modify that to 4-digit year. And then what we're doing is we are taking the input and parsing it into a string so that we have a month, day, year format. We can identify which of the items the input will be translated into month, date, year. And then we're going to return that invoice date to the calling program. So when we first start, we're calling main. We're printing out a title. Very important. Always have a title in your program. And then we're creating a while loop. So in line 12, we are creating a variable that will make the loop run at least once. And then the very first line of our while loop is to call the get invoice date, which is going to ask for that input. And print is just going to print a blank line. Then we're going to start calculating some days. So we're taking a look at, we're creating the due date. And so the due date is 30 days beyond the invoice date. So that's what's happening here. This time delta is basically adding 30 days to the original date that was input. Then we're recording what the current date is, the current system date, and saving that to a variable. Then we are checking to see whether the invoice is overdue. So we do that by taking today's date, the current date, and subtracting the due date from it to get the number of days. If it isn't overdue, then it will give us the opposite value, and we'll be able to determine based on whether that number is positive or negative. Now we're going to display the results. So first things first, we're going to create a format for the date. And if you take a look at our slides or the formatting strings in Python, you'll see what these all mean. So this is the month, and the month as a word, and then the date, and then a capital Y is 4-digit year. So we're going to print out the invoice date in our date format. We're going to print out the due date, also using our date format, and the current date in our date format. And then we will determine, based on that days overdue calculation, whether the invoice is overdue or whether how many days it has until it is due. And then we ask if they would like to continue, which would allow them to enter another invoice. So I'll go ahead and run this program. And again, that'll come up down here. Invoice date, December 2nd, 2023. Due date, January 1st, 2024. Current date, October 3rd, 2025. This invoice is 641 days overdue. That's bad. We should have some late fees or something. All right, so the first thing that we want to do is our program instructions tell us is that we are going to change this from a date time, because you'll notice here that we are creating a date time. So we're going to change that from a date time into a 4-digit year. And we're going to put some validation, because as I mentioned, if we were to run this program and put in some bad data, let me put in some data. So let's say I put in like December 10th, 2025. We're going to get a bunch of errors here and it's not going to work. We're getting value error, etc. If I was to try that again, let's say 020202, same thing, right? We don't ever want our users to see all that um, nightmare of output. So that is what we are going to do. We're going to fix these things. Okay, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to make a lot of changes to the get invoice date. I believe everything in the main program is going to stay the same. So the first thing that we want to do is change this, enter the invoice date to a 4-digit year. And then we're going to put some validation in. So I'm going to, let me zoom in a bit so you can maybe see that code a little bit easier. And there we go. Okay, so what I did was I just added the four capital Y's instead of 2. And I'm going to put this all inside of a while true statement, which means I'm going to have to tab that over to indent. All right, and I'm going to do a try except. So dt equals date time dot strp time. Very similar. I'm gonna just, you can pretty much use this same code right here, but I'll go ahead and type it out. Invoice date str comma percent lowercase m slash percent lowercase d slash, and then percent capital Y. And so that is going to make it so that we have a 4-digit year instead of a 2-digit year. And I'm going to delete this. Okay, so we're going to try to parse that date from the input. If it does not work, this accept value error will catch, instead of pushing that error message or that breaking our program, we're going to have a nicer message. So invalid date format. Please enter your date in MMDDYYY format. Please try again. Okay. And then in order for that to go, we need to say continue. Right, so that should catch our errors. And then we will go ahead and okay, so within our while loop, we will go ahead and create our invoice date. I'm going to use date dt year comma dt month comma dt day. And then we're going to say if invoice date is greater than date today, colon, indentation, print, invoice must be today's date or earlier. So we can't have an invoice that we are creating in the future. Please try again. Else, then we will return the invoice date. So basically we're gonna do a few different validations here. Validate that the invoice date is today or earlier, i.e. not in the future. And then this one, we're going to validate for proper input. And our date is, I think we're going to have to do that as well, import date. Okay, let's go ahead and give this a try and see if this works. So basically what we've done is we've just really enhanced the get invoice date function and changed it to a 4-digit year and did some validation in here. So let me go ahead and save this and I will run it. Okay. All right, enter the invoice date. Let's put in something bad. Okay, so it did catch that. Let's put in September 27, oops, not 37, 27, 2025. Still did not do that correctly. Okay, so I'll just put in 09, 27, 19, oh, not 19, 20, 25. All right, what do we have here? Current date minus due date, unsupported operand type for date time, date time. Okay, so let me take a look at that error. 1 second, please. Okay, so the other thing that we need to correct is down here. We also have a date time, so I need to remove that date time to just date. And then I'm going to go ahead, save that, and run it again. All right, put in a correct date. So 09/27/2025. Date time dot date has no attribute now. Okay. So yes, it is not now. It is date dot today, like we used it up here. Date dot today. All right, let's try this one more time. Save it. Debug those things. The difference between using date and date time. Oops. 27/20/25. All right, there we go. Finally got all the little bugs out. So invoice date, September 27th, 2025. Due date, October 27th, 2025. Current date, October 3rd, 2025. This invoice is due in 24 days. Yes. Now let's do an overdue one. Let's do 09/29/2023. There we go. Due date, October 29th, 2023. Current date, October 3rd, 2025. This invoice is 705 days. Let's do 02/27/2024. Oh, we need to put in our, all right, due date, March 28th, 2024. Current date, 554 days. All right, let me do 01/04/2025. And there we go. Okay, so this looks like it's working correctly. Let me just make sure I do know, and it says bye. So there you go. There are the changes that you'll need to make for this particular program. Thank you.